Alright, today's video is going to be about an issue I've been having with my car. I've been getting extra long cranks. It's kind of intermittent. I was getting about 4 or 5 extended long cranks in a row. It was actually running the battery down where you could actually hear the starter start to lose some power, and it would just start. I wouldn't hear my low pressure fuel pump prime, and from what I've read, that could be a number of issues. First, you'd want to start with what I'm going to try today, which is the EKP module, or the fuel pump module. Next would be the low pressure fuel sensor on the fuel rail underneath the intake manifold, or your actual low pressure fuel pump itself. So, or it could even be a high pressure fuel pump, but if you had a really long jerky crank and it took a long time to start and then it barely idles, probably your high pressure fuel pump. If it starts up eventually and drives kind of normal, but when you push it up high, you may get some hesitation. You'd probably want to go to your low pressure fuel sensor in that instance. In my instance, it takes a long time to start, but as soon as you start it, it's all normal. You can drive it, you can shut it off, restart it, it'll start up fine. It's just when you let it sit for a while and it doesn't build up fuel pressure by priming the fuel pump when you open your door, you'll get a long crank. But then after that, everything is as it should be, everything's normal. So from what I've read and researched, you'd want to go to your fuel pump module, because it's not giving the signal to prime the fuel pump, but beyond that, it's still functioning normally and lets you drive and have no other adverse effects. So I looked into it. I believe my car has a EKP M2, or second generation module, kind of like the FRM2 and FRM3 module for lighting and body control. They made different revisions for it, and they changed things up to address known issues. So what I'm doing is I bought a used EKP M3 module, something you probably find in an LCI or 2009 and newer E90, and you don't really hear too many reports of people having this issue with the third generation module. So we're gonna install that today, and I'll show you guys what I was experiencing. I just pulled out the camera and tried starting the car, I guess about 5-6 times, and a couple of times out of that I got the long crank, just to show you what to expect. Nothing else to report when driving, so that's what this video is about. How to upgrade, how to encode the actual module and make it work with the car, and upgrade to a third generation module. I paid 40 bucks for it, and if it doesn't work, I'm not going to be too upset, because at the end of the day I'm upgrading to a newer generation module, and that's a good thing in itself. It's been a couple hours now. I'm going to try going up to the car, see if the fuel pump primes when I try to unlock it. I think I heard it, yeah. So I guess this problem is very intermittent, but I'll keep recording and tracking this. So it's the next day now. I'm going to go over to the car and see if the fuel pump primes. Yeah, I heard it prime. So it should start right up right now. So I'm going to keep trying. This is an intermittent problem, but for now it's been working like 3 starts in a row. It started right up. Alright, just going to update this along the way. Yesterday when leaving work, I didn't hear my fuel pump prime, and I got the long crank. So it's the next morning now. I'm going to see if I get a long crank to show you guys what to expect. No, not this time. It's another day. In the morning I opened my door and I didn't hear the fuel pump prime, so let's see if I get a long crank. No. So this problem seems to be very camera shy. It's the end of the work day and I'm going to start my car, but I just heard my fuel pump prime, so I think it's going to start right up, but let's see.
Well, the colder months are here, so I'm glad I
started right up. I'll keep trying. 100% this time, and got that crank. That's what you can expect. It's about that long, and it's very intermittent for me. It was steady, like 10 starts in a row one time, and then it was just you know, 5 good starts. It's, you know, 1 random bad start. And from what I've read, if your low pressure fuel pump isn't getting primed by the EKP module. So my car shipped with an EKP M2 module, 2nd generation module, and they made a 3rd generation module that has better relays, I believe, inside of it. So I'm waiting for the part to come, but finally got it on video, what to expect, and the fact that it's intermittent. So here's the module I purchased. Let's get this unboxed. Here's the part number. It says EKP M3, meaning it's a 3rd generation module. It's updated. It has a big heat sink on the back, and that connects to the car. And I guess it dissipates heat that way. You know what I'm going to do just for kicks is I'm going to put some thermal paste on the back of this so that it actually transfers heat a little bit better to the body and cools itself. So there's MOSFET transistors inside here that can fail over time due to heat, and they can act up. And this will be plug and play. This part plugs in, but if I were to just stick this in and not encode it to the car, it wouldn't be running the right program and it wouldn't work properly. So what we're gonna do is pull out the old module, and we're gonna compare the two. I think I can get in here quite easily. Just pop this lid off. I'll show you there's drastic differences between the old module and the new module. I believe there was more ghetto old school type of relay in the original one, and that was what fails, or it could just be the transistors that fail on the current model, the M2 that I have on mine, the EKP M2. So hopefully this will address issues people have been having. I found quite a few videos on YouTube regarding E90s and long cranks. This should apply to any E90 really, any 6-cylinder E90. I have a 335i, I'm working on a 2008. But I see the same issue with 323s, 325s, 330s, 328s, etc. At the end of the day, they all have a low pressure fuel pump that needs to be primed and run properly to work effectively. I kind of feel like on my car, because it has an old high pressure fuel pump, that's a very mechanical device that's run off the engine, kind of like how carburetor fuel pumps used to work, at a much higher pressure. But if you let the starter run for long enough without priming, you can bring fuel pressure, draw fuel pressure into the engine just on the high pressure pump, so you can start. For other cars like a 325 or 328, etc., they may not even start, and that's when this module is completely bad, or they may take a long time to start. It seems to be super common. And actually this issue was brought to my attention by another viewer. Actually, he had asked me for some help on this, asking about if I knew what was up. I hadn't encountered it on my car, but this would have definitely helped him, and hopefully this will help a number of people. So I'd buy it used, because this new module has all the updates and it's much less likely to fail. So I'd probably look for one used, but make sure it's a 3rd generation module if you're going to bother. You always have to encode it to the car, so we're going to have to use NCS Expert. I don't necessarily have to update the software on this version. It has 7276046. I could potentially just stick it in, encode it to the car, download the vehicle order onto it, and I should be good to go. So that's what this video is about. Let's get the car set up and pull out the old module. I believe I heard the fuel pump prime, but not for very long. Just for the heck of it, the car sat overnight. Let's give it a start and see how well it starts. that was a pretty typical start, nothing notable there. So like I said, this issue is very intermittent, but I did take a couple clips of it struggling to start just so you know a baseline or what to expect and why I'm addressing this issue. Okay, we're going to be starting in the back seat here. First step is going to be to lift up on this here. There's one clip here, one clip in the middle, one clip on the far right. And then you can just kind of lift up on it like that. You gotta lift it up and over the seatbelt buckles. Then we'll set it aside. Now, I'll show you where the bolts are for the bottom of the seat rest here. There's a couple on the bottom. Then we'll be going into the trunk to actually unclip this whole assembly from the back seat. The whole assembly from the actual rear body of the car. So right in the middle here, there's a couple Torx bits. As far as I can tell, that's it to hold this in place. So we're going to go after those. I'll tell you what type of Torx socket they are. So they're T50 Torx. They're relatively tight, so I'm going to get another type of socket for more leverage. And now the 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter on there just for a little more leverage. Feels like we could have some Loctite on them, but it's really tight. Here's the bolt. There's another one. I believe there's some red Loctite on here, that's why it takes quite a bit of effort. So as you can see, this whole assembly moves now. So we'll go to the next step. The next step, we're going inside the trunk. So here we are inside the trunk. And there's a couple clips that we have to release. I just have a standard, decent size, like medium size flathead. We're going to want to come in here. If you see right there, there's those two bolts, and there's this clip-like mechanism. My car doesn't have folding seats, so I'll have to do this to be able to release the actual back seat. If you had folding seats, it may change things, but I'll show you what's involved. So I've just leaned inside the trunk here, and it's quite tight, so it's kind of difficult to show you exactly what's happening here. But I have a flathead. There's a little relief right. There's a hole, and then there's a little relief right here. If you grab your screwdriver, it releases the actual top bar. If you notice, you can see that little notch. So I just got inside here and I turned it. Now I can see a gap between the actual seat back. It's unlatched. So basically, you just stick your screwdriver in here, get into this notch, turn. So I'll do that on the other side, and then we'll let the seats fold from inside the car. So I'm going to move the seats forward so I have clearance. So now that I've released it from the top, I'm just going to try to pull. As you can see, now that I've pulled away, the whole thing will lean forward. And there was just, get a better view from the trunk, there was just those two bolt holes at the bottom that hold the whole assembly in. So I guess if you wanted to use your car for transporting something, you could technically do this if you didn't care about having your back seats temporarily. So what this did is gave us access to the actual module right here that we're going to be working with. So I'll get the camera set up on this side and get some lighting over here, and we'll go from there. So as expected, here's my module. You know, just as a tip, people, there's ways to remove these bolsters supposedly. I don't know if it applies to 4-door or not, but I think if you have a 2-door, you can, this part is separate and you can remove just the right section and unclip it, but it has a tendency to break, etc. I'm just working on a 4-door sedan, so this is the method I'm showing. There's the actual module. As you can see, EKP M2 second generation, as I was expecting, because if you have an 07 or A335i, you should expect to have a EKP M2. And now now that I'm taking this out and installing the third generation module, I'm moving to the model that would have shipped with an LCI, but it's backwards compatible. So it looks like there's two 10mm fasteners on this side, which I'll get off now. There's a clip at the top. There's two connectors. You're gonna have to take out one altogether, and you can slide the other one out. I don't see any thermal paste on the back. It's a metal plate which bolts to the car, and it would help dissipate heat. So like I said, I'm gonna throw some thermal paste on the back of this just to help it cool a little bit better. So let's go compare the two. So here's the module I bought. Here's the module we're taking out. It's a lot thicker. This is a lot thinner. Of course, the connectors are the same, and the mounting style is the same. But this is way lighter. So my car should be way faster now because of the weight reduction. Just joking, obviously, but let's take these covers off and let's compare. So I'm going to start with the old one, just to make sure it looks as easy to remove as it seems. Yeah. So that kind of tells you what's going on here. The caps in here are much larger. There's a coil. I don't know if that's to step the voltage down or what. And it's coated to protect against moisture and humidity. But you know, if you asked anybody which one's more advanced, which one's a newer iteration, it's pretty obvious. I think they laid off on the amount of sealant they put on it. Maybe that was causing an issue, but you know, you can see the MOSFET transistors, and it's heavily reliant on old school technology. When you look at it, it's kind of clear. On the back side of this, there's probably some thermal paste between some transistors on the base of the actual unit. So it's more robust and it's more advanced, and for 40 bucks, if I'm throwing this in and it doesn't fix my problem, I'm not upset, like I said. So that's basically the differences between the two. So I'll get this snapped back together, stick it on the car. I'm gonna show you how much thermal paste I use on the back. Probably not necessary, but at the same time, it's not a bad idea. You can see the thermal. They use a thermal sticker on the base, so couldn't hurt. So let's do that now. So as I was saying, this step is probably overkill and unnecessary, but at the same time, it's not going to do any harm. It's just going to help the module stay cooler. So I have this. It's just generic CPU thermal paste. I'm going to put a healthy sized dot in the middle. You know, going by how much you use on a CPU die, this is about twice the surface area, so I'm putting about twice the glob on there right now. Let's take out this one nut. Slide this in here. It'll help if you put it the right way. Got a good seal. I think I'm actually on it properly. As you can see, plug and play. Now we gotta guide the rear seat back into place. The seat belt's gonna pull it into place for you. So I'll get that done now. I figured I'd get adjusted and show you guys as I line it back up to guide into place. As soon as I gave it a bit more of a push and pushed it over that way, it just literally, all the weight of it snapped right back into place. It found its clips and it's good to go. It's latched back in. So I'll get this reassembled. I'm gonna put those two bolts back in and snap the base back on, and we'll get set up with the laptop. We're gonna have to remove this cover here for the OBD2 port. I always do this when I'm coding my car or doing anything related to flashing or encoding. I set it up on a battery charger. I have two types. One is like a 15 amp charger, 10 to 15 amps for like long flashing, updating modules. If I'm just doing a quick encode, I'll just stick on the 6 amp charger just to keep it topped up. I have a laptop set up with the software needed, NCS Expert, IMPA, and all that. There'll be a link to a thread below showing you how to do all this and set it up. And yeah, if you're new to my channel, I plan on keeping this car for a long time, so be sure to subscribe. I'll keep updating this channel with how to keep this car on the road. It now has 167,000 miles, so you know things are going to start to go, and it's all a matter of, can I keep it on the road for cheap enough to make it worth it. So far so good. So another thing to mention, I mentioned in all my videos, you need to buy this cable, K plus DCAN USB interface cable. You can find it on Amazon and eBay for 20 bucks, up to 20 bucks. That's what communicates with the car. And the thread will show you everything you need to know about how to set up this software suite that I'm using. Alright. So to start with, you're going to want the key in the run position. So that means don't start it, don't put your foot on the brake, just turn it into the, press the button twice. You're going to want your headlights off, you're going to want your interior fan turned right off. Turn off your interior lights and stereo, anything that would add unnecessary draw. So now I have the cable connected to the car, you know, you can watch my other videos in regards to how to use IMPA and this whole software suite. But like I said, if you had followed that thread to a T, set everything up, you'd end up where I'm at now with the same software suite. So what I always like to do is go into IMPA, and this software will tell you if you have a good connection to the car or not. So battery on, ignition on, it's connected, it's sensing the car. So I'm going to quit this, I'm going to go to NCS Expert, run, I'm going to load a profile, RevTurs. You could use Expert as well, but if you follow that thread you'll end up with this as well. Might as well use what I use. We're going to hit F1, grabs the VIN, we're going to hit F3. We're going to choose our chassis. It's going to be E89 in this case, because it's the closest software configuration files on the available, and it's basically E89 applies to E90s, E91s, E92s, E93s, etc. I think even Z4s. So E89. Now I can grab the vehicle order off of any one of these modules. It's just basically saying, hey, well, where do I get the information about what this car is about and what's on there? Do you want me to take it from the car access system or the footwell module? So I always just leave it on CAS. It doesn't make a difference. You'll see your VIN and your vehicle order load there. That tells any module that's going to be connected to this car what's going on with it and how to run. Okay, so we're going to hit back. Now it's giving me all the options for all the different modules I can play with right now. But what I want to do is process a particular ECU, F4, and now we're going to look for the EKP module, which is right here. Okay, that's what we just installed. Hit OK. It's going to tell me what configuration files it's going to use. That's perfectly fine. Just hit OK. Now, job name is SG Codieren, meaning it's ready to code and write to it. All I'm telling it is, here's my vehicle order, here's my VIN. Let's download that to the car. So SG Codieren is set. I don't have to change my job. If you have something else showing, you'd have to click change job. But by default, if you just load the software fresh, default is SG Codieren. I hit execute job. It's going to say coding active, and then it's going to say coding ended. Done. Now that module I just installed knows it's on a 335, knows what year, knows how it's supposed to run. So let's disconnect. We're going to go key off, disconnect the battery charger, just unlock the car, see if we get a prime, or maybe we don't need a prime because fuel pressure is still built, and we'll give it a start. So this is about to be a cold start, first start after putting the new module in. I let the car sit overnight since I brought it in the garage, so you know, I don't know if it needs a prime or not, but I'm unlocking. And we'll give it a start. Running nice. I have my AC on. Smooth. But that was a good cold start. Pretty instantaneous. I don't know if you noticed from the clips earlier in the video, but a couple of them were kind of rocky. They started without long cranks, but it was also very choppy, and like first 2-3 seconds was kind of rough, and then it smoothed out. But right now it's just going through the cold start procedure. There it goes quiet. And then you'll hear the exhaust valves open. Alright, so that's on steady idle. There, exhaust valves open. So it's warmed up. So, and you know, this is, I gave an update video regarding my injectors. A lot of people probably found my channel through the injector coding video. Those injectors have been working well for quite a while, from about getting on 30,000 miles. I put in some cheap Chinese coils. There's another video on my channel. Those work perfect. I have to do a proper update video for that, but they work flawlessly. It's amazing actually. no issues whatsoever. You know, like cars running perfectly with the mileage and everything. So little things like this, you know, this is what scares people away from BMWs, because the electronics end of things. Every module is VIN locked, every module needs to go to the, you know, technically this should have gone to the dealer. No matter what, you're at their mercy. You're not walking away for less than $750. But it's the little things like this, it's the small little modules that can make it a headache to own. But so far, you know, from what I've been doing, it's been a breeze, and it's been cheap to maintain. It's actually been a really cheap car to keep on the road. So car's steady idling, warmed up. I'm gonna give it a restart. Let's do a warm restart. Started well. So yeah, sounds healthy actually. It sounds like a good, what I would expect for a proper cold start, or a proper warm restart. So basically, to conclude this video, seems to be a common problem, and if you're gonna bother buying a used module, go for the 3rd generation. Make sure it says M3 at the end of it, just like that. But go for the 3rd generation module, encode it to your car, and you should be in good shape. Even if you haven't even hit this issue yet, if you just do this proactively, it's not a bad thing at all. I don't know how it's going to affect drivability on the road, if it's going to make any other difference. Maybe there's some small tweaks in it that can help with day-to-day driving, I'm not sure. But basically, I would recommend you go for the 3rd generation module. And to conclude, my symptoms were long starts or choppy starts. But once you're done, once you're warm, you could beat on it, you could do anything, no issues. I'm pretty confident that this video is going to be it. I don't think I'll have this issue anymore, but if I do, be sure to subscribe, because I'll have another video in regards to what my next action would be, my next course of action. It would be changing out the low pressure fuel sensor on the under the intake manifold. And then looking at the fuel pump. But like, I'm very confident the fuel pump's fine. You know, maybe it's that sensor, I doubt it. I think it was this module. So thanks for watching, and good luck.